The bar smelled of smoke, iron, and something faintly metallic that reminded him of a hospital room long ago. He stepped inside cautiously, letting his eyes adjust to the dim amber lighting, the kind that made everything seem hazy, even dangerous. Alien patrons lounged across the room, creatures with elongated limbs, scales, and eyes that flickered with curiosity and suspicion alike. For him, a human in a galaxy where humans were regarded as fragile, expendable, or downright amusing, every step was measured, every breath calculated. He wasn't here for fun. He was here because of a message, a distress call whispered through channels meant for interstellar adventurers. It had been cryptic, half lost in transmission, but the urgency was clear. Some kind of conflict, some kind of danger. Humans weren't known for their diplomatic finesse in alien cities, but somehow, he always managed to survive where others faltered. He found an empty seat at the far end of the bar. The bartender, a short, stocky alien with skin like polished obsidian, gave him a slow nod. "Drink?" it asked, in a harsh, clicking language that somehow his translator handled poorly. "Water," he replied. Simplicity mattered. He didn't need the intoxicating chaos that ran through most interstellar bars. Not tonight. He was scanning the room, cataloging potential threats or opportunities, when a sudden shift in the atmosphere froze him mid-thought. The temperature seemed to drop, the shadows in the corners growing thicker, denser. He wasn't imagining it. Every creature in the bar shifted subtly, glancing toward the entrance. She arrived like a storm wrapped in elegance, her long dark hair flowing over her shoulders as if it had a life of its own. Eyes like liquid onyx scanned the room, fixing briefly on him before moving past, and he could feel the unspoken gravity of her presence pull at the air itself. She was clearly not human. Not that humans could ever claim presence like hers. Something in her radiated dominance, danger, and a beauty that was impossible to ignore. Then it happened. Two thugs at a table nearby decided it would be fun to test the limits of the human in the corner. One of them pushed a chair toward him, muttering something that would have been incomprehensible without the translator. Before he could react, the chair collided with his arm, and instinct took over. A punch not precise, not calculated, but fast, furious, pure survival instinct wrapped around a human's stubborn, almost reckless courage. The sound that followed was not what he expected. A sharp snap, a hiss, a high-pitched intake of breath. The air seemed to freeze. The bar itself went quiet, the patron staring at the scene as if time had stuttered. He looked down at the table, and there she was, the vampire princess. Her fang broken, blood dripping slowly onto the floor, staining her pale skin. Her eyes, once pools of cold indifference, were now wild, stormy. She moved faster than anything he could track, her hands gripping him by the arm, and yanking him from the scene before anyone could intervene. "Why did you?" he started, but she silenced him with a glare sharp enough to cut through metal. "No," she hissed. "You don't speak, you survive." She dragged him through the streets, a blur of motion against neon signs and towering metal structures. He barely had time to comprehend that he was being pulled not toward safety, but toward something far more dangerous. The alley they ducked into smelled of wet concrete and ozone. Her breathing, sharp and irregular, was the only sound besides his own rapid pulse. He finally stopped, leaning against a wall, trying to catch his breath. "Why did you hit me?" she demanded, her voice still harsh, but there was an edge of something else, curiosity, maybe respect. "I didn't know it was you," he admitted. "I reacted. Survival instinct." Her laugh was short, clipped, almost musical, though it didn't reach her eyes. "You humans, always so reckless." She winced, touching her broken fang lightly. "And lucky." "I didn't mean to," he began, but she raised a hand, silencing him again. "Luck is survival. Something your species understands, even if they don't realize it," she said, her voice softening just enough to suggest a rare intimacy. "You are unusual." He wasn't sure if that was a compliment. Humans had a reputation in this sector of the galaxy. They were the underdogs, fragile creatures with nothing but grit and unpredictable instinct. Alien civilizations had watched them and underestimated them for centuries, and yet somehow, humans always endured, always survived. Somehow, against probability, they thrived. "You're bleeding," he said suddenly, gesturing to her jaw. The broken fang had torn her lip. She looked down at it, then back at him with a scowl that was almost playful. "I'll heal," she said, but she leaned closer, her eyes narrowing. "You have drawn attention. Not everyone will see your talent kindly." He nodded. Survival instinct, he reminded himself. That was what kept humans alive in alien cities, alien worlds, in wars they never started. He wasn't particularly brave. He was cautious, smart, and stubborn. That combination made him dangerous in ways most aliens didn't appreciate until it was too late. "What do you want from me?" he asked finally, curiosity outweighing fear. "Protection," she said simply. "And company." He blinked. "Company? Do not underestimate me," she said, still gripping his arm. "I am powerful, dangerous, but tonight, I needed someone unpredictable, someone reckless enough to survive what comes next." And that was when the sounds began. Footsteps, hard and deliberate, echoing against the metal walls of the alley. He recognized them instantly as bounty hunters, trained killers with precision weaponry and no patience. They hadn't come for her. They had come for him. The human you attract trouble, she muttered, her fangs glinting even as one remained broken. That punch, it has changed the trajectory of your life. He had no time to argue. The first hunter appeared at the end of the alley, weapon raised. He ducked instinctively, rolling to the side, and for the first time realized how different the physics of alien streets could be. The gravity slightly lower, the air denser in some ways, making movement almost surreal. She moved like liquid shadow, striking with precision and strength that belied her appearance. Her other fang, sharp and lethal, glinted as she lashed out at a hunter who had underestimated her recovery speed. The remaining fang barely slowed her, and yet every movement was elegant. Deadly dot. He realized then that humans, often considered fragile, had instincts that complemented alien strength. Where she was precise and lethal, he was unpredictable, chaotic, and yet somehow effective. He dodged, blocked, and improvised, turning moments of danger into opportunities. He wasn't strong like her, but he adapted, and that adaptability was alien to those who relied purely on skill or power. When the hunters finally retreated, realizing their quarry was no longer an easy target, she turned to him, her expression unreadable. "You are remarkable," she said, almost grudgingly. "I could say the same," he replied, his chest heaving from the exertion. Not many could survive a bar fight with a vampire princess and live to talk about it. She smirked faintly. Few humans ever survive such encounters. Most die thinking themselves clever. You are clever, in your own way. He smiled, though fatigue weighed on him like a heavy blanket. "Is this what you call company?" "Yes," she said simply, and for the first time, she allowed herself to look human, if only for a moment. Vulnerable, and yet still dangerous. "I may have misjudged your species, perhaps. Humans are not what the galaxy thinks they are." He raised an eyebrow. "You mean gentle, weak?" She shook her head. "No, not gentle, not weak, unpredictable, dangerous in ways the galaxy refuses to see. You survive because you adapt. You endure because you do not bow to fear that is power." They walked through the city streets after that, silent but aware of each other. He noticed the way she moved, the way her gaze constantly scanned the environment, calculating threats, and he noticed how she glanced at him from time to time, as if measuring his reactions, weighing his value. They arrived at a small, secluded courtyard, hidden behind towering skyscrapers and artificial trees glowing faintly with bioluminescent light. She let him go there, finally releasing his arm, but her presence lingered, heavy and commanding. "Stay," she said. "If you survive this night, perhaps you will see the galaxy differently. Perhaps you will see what humans are truly capable of." He nodded. "I've been seeing it all my life," he replied. "You just have to know where to look." Her smile was fleeting, almost imperceptible, but it reached her eyes. "Perhaps, then you are the companion I seek." The night stretched long and strange around them, filled with unspoken truths, hidden dangers, and the subtle acknowledgement that humans were not the fragile creatures the galaxy believed. They were unpredictable, they were resilient, and sometimes, as tonight had proven, they could punch their way into legend, leaving even a vampire princess questioning everything she thought she knew. He thought of the bar, the broken fang, the chaos, and the survival instinct that had carried him this far. It was never just luck, it was something more, something the galaxy had consistently underestimated. Humans could survive the impossible, adapt to the extraordinary, and endure beyond expectation.